It's time for the Josh Kirby on Sports Podcast.
The 100th edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast is coming your way in just a moment. Yes, this episode is so big, we had to break it up into two parts. We have college football action, Week 15 in the National Football League, and some special guests we had to put into part two of this 100th edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast. As always, we would like to thank our sponsors, Regroup Building Services, where we do the honeydews that your honey don't, PM Plus Reserves, and Shenandoah Primitives. Big thanks, as always, to MPT Now Productions, Dave Johnson, and Productions by Quet for all their support as well. The 100th edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast, part number 1, comes your way right now.
I'm glad you connected. This is Dave Johnson, voice of the Washington Wizards. You have connected to the right place because you are listening to my man, Josh Kirby on Sports Podcast.
Episode 100 strong here on the Kirby on Sports Podcast. As always, we are sponsored by Regroup Building Services, PM Plus Reserves, and Shenandoah Primitives. Big thanks, as always, to MPT Now Productions, Dave Johnson, and Productions by Quet for their support as well. I have with me to bring in one of two parts of this 100th edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast. Dan Dembski and Carlos Martinez join me virtually. Gentlemen, how we doing?
We're doing well, man. How are you?
Now, I'm pumped to do this. You know, another week.
Are you?
100 strong. It's great, man.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. A lot of good sports to cover over the weekend. A lot of football, college, and pro. So I'm excited to get down into it, man.
Absolutely. Carlos, are you happy your Cowboys finally won?
No, because they're not my team anymore. Don't stop associating me with the Cowboys right now. I've rescinded my fanhood from that horrible franchise for the rest of the season until next year.
What if they suck next year?
Understandable.
If they stink next year, well then, you know, what else is new? The Cowboys freaking suck.
Oh my gosh. We have a jam-packed episode. If you haven't heard, this 100th edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast will be broken up into two parts. The first part, which we are recording as right now, we'll be covering a lot of stuff, including the college football playoff, week 15 of the NFL, so much more. And then in the second part, we have two very special guests who have joined me and Dan on the podcast. So stay tuned for the second part after this. Should come out at least a day or two after, but look out for those two parts. Let's get right into it, gentlemen. Once again, I'm glad you're with us. Dan Dembski and Carlos Martinez riding with me on episode 100 of the Kirby on Sports Podcast. And we're going to take things in a little bit different of a direction. And this is a segment that I feel like we needed to implement because the college football playoff have just implemented their final rankings. So you have the playoff is set, with the number 1 seed being, you know who, Alabama. Number 2, you know who, Clemson. Number 3, you know who? Ohio State. In number 4, the reason why Notre Dame got in is because they beat Clemson the first time because Trevor Lawrence tested positive for COVID. So top 4 for the college football playoff. Carlos, I know you've been itching to talk about this college football playoff. So let's hear what you have to say about this.
Well, welcome to College Football Talk with my guests, Josh Kirby and Dan Dembski. Like I said, I'm hijacking your show, Kirby. And also, furthermore, just like a hit franchise when they're hitting their last movie, well, they like to split it up into 2 parts. All right. Anyways, my thoughts on the rankings were I was very underwhelmed by them. It was kind of obvious like who they were going to pick. And
well, yeah, it's always obvious. It's the college football playoff.
It's just kind of gotten to the point where it's too predictable and we don't get any cool stories out of this anymore. I think the honeymoon phase with the playoff system is over. I think now everybody sees that starting out with 4 teams maybe was okay to start out, but it was never going to be enough to sustain this. Because now we see like in a situation like this where, Ohio State gets in at number 3 and they only played 6 games. And then in their last game, they didn't even look that great. But then you got undefeated teams like Cincinnati who played multiple more games, or a Texas A&M who played 9 games in the SEC and they can't get past number 5. And then you got a Notre Dame who, albeit they did beat a Clemson team, who were ranked number 1, but it was a Clemson team without Trevor Lawrence and without a bunch of players actually in that first game.
Yeah, when Notre Dame upset them.
Yeah, and also that was in that was at Notre Dame, and then they come out here to Charlotte. Was it Charlotte? No, not Charlottesville. This is Charlotte. This is Charlotte. Yeah, Charlotte. Yeah, they come out to Charlotte and they lay an egg. I knew that by the end of that game, that first game in at Notre Dame, I knew if Trevor Lawrence was playing, Notre Dame had no shot. They would not have won that game earlier in the season.
And maybe we wouldn't have had to deal with a COVID-19 outbreak in South Bend, Indiana.
That too, because then they stormed the field.
Yeah, that was so dumb. Oh my god!
I was like, why do you guys
I still don't get that.
Notre Dame, jeez. But I mean,
act like you've won before. Come on.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. They haven't. Last time they were in the championship game, they got blown out by Alabama.
Yeah, true.
That was what 2000.
That was with Manti Te'o, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was the year of the fake girlfriend.
Oh yeah, the invisible girlfriend. Gosh,
he was.
We're going down memory lane.
Yeah.
Oh man,
those were the days.
That was back. Let's see. That was Alabama, and guess who they're facing? At the Rose Bowl. Well, not at the Rose Bowl, but it's the Rose Bowl.
Rose Bowl game,
yeah, but it's in
Arlington
at AT&T Stadium. But they need to expand this playoff for sure.
Absolutely. My thought on this whole playoff scenario thing is the fact that, and you can't change my mind, whether it's right or not, this is what I think it is. The college football playoff is a bunch of biased reporters and big name sports people who pick Alabama and Clemson and Ohio State every single year, no matter circumstance.
But they're the best teams. They're the 3 best teams. Come on.
So I don't put it necessarily on the teams, but I do put it on the committee for not why are they so against expanding? Think about how long it took them to get out of the BCS system.
Yeah, that's true.
Which was, basically bullshit every time, think of how long it took them to get out of that just to get to 4 teams. When literally, if you expand this to 8 teams, you would that's more games, that's more money. I don't see the downside to this. Then you're also, then basically it's the Power Five. So you got the Big Ten, the ACC, the SEC, the Big 12, and the Pac-12. You get all those conference champions in, and then you have 3 at-large bids for the group of 5.
Yep, totally agree.
And then you also give basically every year it's always telling the group of 5, schools that like you guys don't have a shot. And then it's also like the Pac-12 is constantly, being slapped in the face like every time. So
yeah, and it
I don't know.
gives teams like smaller teams like BYU, an opportunity, Cincinnati, a chance to go up against these big teams like Clemson and Alabama. I don't think, and here's another thing that I don't think people are talking enough about is recruiting and competition would improve so much. You wouldn't see, these top 3 teams getting all the 4 and 5 star prospects every year. Yep. I think you would see more recruits be spread out, maybe not at BYU, but at some of these smaller tier, Big Ten and SEC schools.
Yeah, there would be more competition.
Exactly. Things would become more even. And, that's one case I don't think a lot of people have made. So I agree completely. I even think 8 teams makes a lot of sense. And here's something else you could do. And I've always thought this is really stupid that, 6 and 6 teams are bowl eligible. To me, it's just a complete joke. Who wants to watch the Flat Tire Bowl on ESPN 8 the Ocho? Nobody's going to give a damn about that game. Here's what you have to do. You have to make it 7 and 5 to be bowl eligible. You have to have a winning record.
Agreed.
Now this is in obviously a non-COVID year where you have, teams not having games canceled, postponed, etc. You get rid of these lower tier bowls and you allow the sponsors of those bowls to have a stake in the college football playoff and tag along with another big sponsor or whatever the case may be. That way the money and all that revenue is still there. And also, there'd be a lot more eyeballs, I think, absolutely, for, to see a team like Cincinnati have an opportunity to go against these big tier schools. And, I'm sure there would be upsets as well. This is something that happens in college sports, especially.
Especially during like the March Madness tournament. That's always the best thing about March Madness is that Cinderella story, that like underdog team, like a George Mason, a VCU, a Butler who gets to the final. Like you get behind a team because like they're not supposed to really be there, and yet they're upsetting these big teams because they have a shot at it. Yeah, we don't have those stories in college football, and that's the frustrating thing. And it just like to your point, Dan, about like recruits, like that's why an Alabama, a Clemson, that's why, or, an Ohio State, that's why they're constantly getting all the top recruits because they're constantly going to the playoff because, a committee gets to choose who goes in when in reality, it should be, if you win your conference, you should get a shot at a national title. That's how it should be.
Right.
It shouldn't be this like BS thing that they did like with like here with Notre Dame. They lost the conference championship game. Now, granted, normally they're not in the ACC, but that's where they were this season. They lost. Why are they in? But then Cincinnati sat there, won their conference, and I'm not saying Cincinnati would win the national championship, but at least give them a shot. And like, because why are the Power Five even playing? Because like they're never going to get a shot at the national championship with this structure. So it's just like, what are we doing?
Right. Totally agree. And, it makes too much sense. And I think that's one reason why the committee has been dragging their feet about this. And, money at the end of the day has a lot to do with this. And all those 4 schools are huge money makers. There's no doubt about that. But I think I think the ratings will go down? Not necessarily because people are drawn.
No.
People are drawn to this. Yeah, I know. No, I'm talking about now. Like,
yeah,
it's you could debate that. I think, but I think if you expand the playoff and make it make sense with sponsors and things like that, you have something here. And then, especially when there's an upset, people say, "Wow, this this is what we've been asking for 6 years now, right? Because the college football play, well, I guess it was 2015 was the first
2015 was they did it. Well, I think they started with the 2014
right
15 season. So yeah, it's been like 5 years of this thing. Like, but I mean, what they should have done was been like, when they started it all, they should have been like, okay, we're going to start out with 4 teams just so for X amount of years, so we can like figure out the kinks and rinks in the system, and then after a certain amount of years, then we expand to maybe 6, to where you give like 1 and 2 like the bye week, and then you have 3 through 6 play each other, and then there you go. And then you like slowly start expanding up to 8 and then maybe up to 16 one day. But like, that's not what they did. They were so set on 4 teams when you have a Power 5 conferences. So every year, one of the Power 5 is going to be left out. And then you have the group of 5 who will never get a shot because they never get a chance to even play these top teams, or, they get disrespected because their conferences are considered inferior.
Yeah, I agree. And, another argument from that side may be, well, they'll play too many games if we expand the playoff. Then get rid of 2 regular season games if you have to. I mean, seriously, folks, this isn't that difficult. If you play 10 games, you should have to be 6-4 to make a bowl game. And then go from there. It's really not that difficult, but I'm sure it's something that the committee has to be talking about it at this point, especially with all the hate and backlash they've gotten in the last, especially 2 years.
Well, this year especially, because if there was any year to do it, to maybe expand it, it was this year because of COVID.
Right. Why not give it a shot? Why not give it a shot? Exactly.
Yeah, this was the year to do it, because we knew there was going to be a situation like this where an Ohio State only plays 6 games, and but then you have other teams who played, you have a Coastal Carolina, a BYU, I don't know. It's just, it like you said, this makes too much sense. But the thing is, if it makes money, it makes sense. So this is going to make them more money. Like, and on top of that, like you said, get rid of 2 games. There's like these, like an Alabama or Clemson, they always play like 2 games against like these like very, very
Division II schools. Yeah, exactly.
Which, granted, these Division II schools do use that money to pay for their program for the rest of the year. But at the same time, it's like, come on, like, you got to make this more interesting than, because every year we know who's getting in. It's going to be either an Alabama or an LSU or Clemson or Ohio State. One of those 3 or 4 options are going to always get in, and they're probably always going to win it. We already know who's going to win this. It's probably going to be Alabama or Clemson. It's going to be one of those 2.
I would really like to see the college football playoff expand into sort of like an NFL playoff scenario, but not the expanded NFL playoff. I would like to see it get expanded to something like that. I feel like it would be more intense, and like Carlos said, more money for viewership and so on and so forth. But I mean,
and upsets, come on, upsets galore.
Yeah, and upsets, yes, upsets. Yeah. With
when there's quote
teams,
unquote,
it's so predictable, and it's like, you don't know if there's probably not going to be an upset, but if you have more teams to add to the mix, there's more of a chance that you might have an upset, and that's gonna lead more viewers to follow that team to see if they can make it all the way.
And look, it's no secret that these 4 teams all have, Heisman candidates and things like that. And I think that plays another factor in here too. If Notre Dame was to be excluded and they throw Texas A&M in there, I think Texas A&M is a pretty solid team. 1 loss to Alabama, multiple touchdown loss, but still a loss nonetheless. I think they could have slid in there possibly. And then of course the group of 5 teams that were dominant this year as well. So, Brian Kelly, one of the biggest coaches in college football, can you imagine how upset he would have been and how much hell he would have raised if Notre Dame didn't make it, after he was complaining? Well, not complaining as much as like someone like Dabo Swinney, but complaining nonetheless.
Whoa! Don't talk bad about Dabo Swinney in my presence, my friend. I love Dabo Swinney.
Do you really? I just think recently he's been a complainer. That's just my opinion. But I don't know. It's just a complete mess. But honestly, the top three was what I expected, and I think a lot of people were wondering who that fourth spot was going to go to, and it shouldn't shock anyone that Notre Dame got it, but there were certainly other teams that were deserving. This has to be something that they address, and I think they're going to have to address it this offseason. Even expanding it to 8 teams, if you have to get rid of 1 week of regular season games, like I said, who really cares? I mean, who's going to watch Alabama play?
Citadel.
The Citadel, yeah, great example. Who gives a crap about that game? I mean, will you get an upset in a game like that? Yeah, it's called Michigan Appalachian State, and it was 13 years ago. Come on, it does. It just doesn't happen that often.
Don't forget about
Rare.
Virginia Tech versus JMU, Dan.
Yeah, let's not bring 2010 up again. Moving on to the NFL now, because we're done with this conversation. No, I'm just kidding. But
well, I guess the last thing we really got to talk about now, I guess then. Okay, so we're all in agreement. Well, we're all in agreement that like we need to expand here because this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely.
Stamp it. Moving on. All right. The Heisman favorites have come out since championship weekend, which just passed. Anybody want to take a guess on who's number 1?
Heisman?
Yeah. Don't look it up if you.
I'm not, but it's got to be Trevor Lawrence, right?
Yeah, it's got to be Trevor. That's what I was just about to say.
You would be wrong.
Ooh.
So the Heisman favorite as of today, since I last checked.
I know. Is it Whit Babcock?
God damn it.
God.
Oh my God. No, so Trevor Lawrence is actually in third. And second is Mac Jones out of Alabama.
Oh my.
And the favorite to win the
Najee
Heisman.
Harris.
Wrong. Devontae Smith, the wide receiver.
Well,
wow.
let me ask you this. Why isn't Kyle Trask in that conversation? What Kyle Trask from Florida has
Kyle Trask is technically number 4 on the list, but I only did the top 3 because only the top 3 actually get, time during the Heisman whatever ceremony.
I would really like to see Kyle Trask make it.
Yeah, had he been able to help, I mean, had he done just a little bit more, he played fantastic in the.
Dude, he played amazing.
But if he just throws one more touchdown pass and and puts Florida over Alabama, he's the definite favorite.
Yeah.
For sure. If Kyle Trask would have pulled off that upset, yeah, for sure, he's the favorite.
Yeah. And it's just really hard under the COVID season to pick somebody because I mean Alabama has what 3 of the 5 players
basically
on the list on the top 5.
Because what's his name, Najee Harris?
Najee Harris had a great
season.
He had a great game.
He's 24 touchdowns, insane.
Yeah, now he's number 5. He actually wasn't even like on the odds at all last week. This week now he got into the number 5 slot. But like to me, I feel like all these 3 Alabama players, I feel like they cancel each other out in my opinion because I feel like you can't do one without the other.
Yeah.
Like Devontae Smith can't throw himself the ball.
Yeah, Mac Jones.
And then Mac Jones can't throw it to Devontae Smith unless he's got Najee Harris running the ball really well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then Najee Harris can't run the ball well unless Mac Jones can throw over that they're getting off the line. So it's just like to me, I feel like those 3 can't. The reason why it works for them 3 is because they cancel each other out essentially.
Yeah.
To me, it's no doubt it should be Trevor Lawrence because he kind of proved it with this game alone. You saw what they look like against Notre Dame prior when he was out with COVID, and then you saw them with Trevor Lawrence in the ACC championship game. You saw what Clemson looked like, and they completely beat the brakes off of Notre Dame. Notre Dame had no answers.
Yeah, that's true. I think when you're talking about importance to a team, I think Trevor Lawrence is definitely most important in college football to their team. Dabo Swinney several times, and I think in the post game of the ACC championship, said that this guy should be the Heisman. I mean, obviously all coaches are going to say that, but the way he said it with like the passion and things like that, shows me how important Trevor Lawrence is to this team. And he's 34-1 as Clemson's starting quarterback. That's just mind blowing. Number one, but you know it's just really tough. It, like you said, I think the Notre Dame game speaks volumes, and I think in my opinion votes Lawrence over everybody else. I mean, if you're talking about numbers, Kyle Trask was the best quarterback this year and almost had Joe Burrow like numbers. But
Yeah.
that one loss really comes back to bite him at the end. And I just think winning teams that don't lose, like Clemson, Trevor Lawrence has only lost one game in his college career. He's going to be the number one overall pick. It's got to be Trevor Lawrence, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like if it's not Trevor Lawrence, then who do you give it to other than Trevor? Like right now, like I understand like the odds are Devontae Smith, Mac Jones, but it's just like to me, like Trevor Lawrence, you see how much of an impact and it's the Heisman is for the best player, like the best college football player. And it's for sure Trevor Lawrence or whoever has the best, season. Yeah. But it's like it's so clear that like Trevor is the best. Like it should. I don't like. I just don't see where the argument is. Like, how can you argue for these three Alabama players? And I can understand an argument for Kyle Trask, but for me, the three Alabama players, the reason why why they've been so successful is because of each other. Where Trevor's just been great because of Trevor Lawrence.
So, predictions. Let's talk about some predictions. Who do we think will make it all the way?
All right. Well, we can start off with the Rose Bowl, Alabama versus Notre Dame. Dan, who do you got?
I'm picking the Tide. Roll Tide, roll. I think it's a 2-touchdown win for Alabama.
Oh, we're picking scores? Or are we saying scores too?
No, mate. Well,
not exact scores, but you're thinking a 2-tutter lead.
Yes.
Okay, Kirby, who do you got?
The Tide 2.5 touchdown favorites.
2.5 touchdowns. Wow.
Touchdown and a field goal or something.
Okay. Well, I got Alabama also. I feel like they're gonna beat the brakes off of Notre Dame. Honestly, I'm gonna go 3 touchdowns.
Wow. So that's bold. I like it though, and I agree. I don't know. I just Notre Dame. They've been so back and forth in some games this year, and Alabama's just too darn good.
I'm just wondering with Notre Dame, like how much this loss from because going into the game, it felt like they had all the confidence in the world until they got smacked in the mouth. And then you just felt that like the first 2 drives, like you felt like Notre Dame was going to hang in there. And then after that, like they just kind of fell off and they were just
like
in
hit
shock.
With an earthquake. Yeah, exactly right.
So
and they're still feeling the shockwave from that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm wondering and now you're going up against Alabama, and like Alabama's really good. So like, I mean, we'll see what happens. I just don't foresee them, like really threatening Alabama. I think Alabama's going to win pretty easily, or not easily, but handedly. And then what's up?
And I was just going to mention as much as I don't like Nick Saban and I think he's a terrible actor and he should give up the Aflac commercials. I still think there's no better coach in college football and I would say in general who's more prepared for a game like this than Nick Saban, just because he's done it so often.
Wow.
And he's already beaten Notre Dame before. Like
exactly.
Like Notre Dame, he's not threatened by Notre Dame, and Ian Book is not gonna threaten him at all.
Totally agree.
All right, so the next game is obviously the rematch from last year in what I'll say was probably the greatest, or not the greatest, but the best college football playoff game of last season was Clemson versus Ohio State. It's the rematch. It's in New Orleans, where Trevor Lawrence lost his last game because that's where the national championship was last year. So he's going back there. They're facing Ohio State. Dabo Swinney has talked a lot of crap, and he ranked Ohio State at number 11 on the coaches poll. He put Ohio State at number 11. He's basically been saying that they don't deserve to be in here. So to me, that's giving Ohio State a lot of motivation. Kind of scares me. But Dan, who are you going with?
I'm taking Clemson. I think with more games, they've had they've had more of a chance to come together and to me have a much more impressive resume than Ohio State, because that's one of the big knocks on them is their lack of games this year. And I think it's going to be a great game, and almost similar to last year where, Justin Fields makes that game-losing interception in the semifinal game. I think a similar play is going to happen this year. And I think it's going to be close, but I do think Clemson holds on to win, and Trevor Lawrence and Clemson, Dabo Swinney are back in the national championship again.
Kirby, who do you got?
Well, I heard what you said about Dabo Swinney talking a bunch of crap about Ohio State, but I'm going to have to go with Clemson based on the sole fact that Ohio State in the Big Ten started late. They only played like 5 or 6 games, and I feel like Clemson is the more dominant team. This is going to be a close game, though. This will not be a runaway, in my opinion. I'm taking Clemson by a touchdown. And I think it's going to be a really close game. I think it might even be a barn burner, maybe come down to the very last play or something like that. But still, I think Clemson has what it takes to make it back to the national championship.
Wow, just going to copy me. Okay, fine.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, it looks like everybody's going with the same picks because I'm taking Clemson also. I think I agree with Kirby. I think it's going to be I think this game is going to be the game to watch. I think Ohio State's going to come in very motivated, but I think overall Trevor Lawrence is going to be like the piece that's going to push Clemson over Ohio State, because I feel like they figured out Ohio State as last year's game went on, that if you just have Trevor run, they can't stop. Like, they can't stop him. So I feel like they're going to implement that same kind of game plan. And I'm going to go with Clemson by, I think they'll only win by maybe like 10 points if we're lucky.
All right.
But yeah, then we're just going to get Alabama Clemson for the fifth time?
Yeah,
and
fifth.
I know exactly who I'm picking.
Yeah.
We can save that for
a later date.
Yeah, because I feel like we've kind of, we've kind of expanded on this a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You could say we've expanded the way they should expand the playoff. There you go.
Hey, there you go. We brought it, and that, my
full
friends,
circle.
Yeah, and that, my friends, is what we call going full circle, bringing it around. All right, let's get to the freaking NFL already. God.
I'm Josh. Riding with me, Dan and Carlos. We'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Week 15 news. I'd like to take a moment to talk about my friends over at Regroup Building Services, specializing in custom homes, remodels, additions, and so much more. If you're looking for a new place to call home or just need repairs on your current one, look no further, because Regroup Building Services has you covered. Just a couple months ago, Regroup Building Services came in and redid our entire kitchen, and boy, does it look great. I cannot recommend them enough. So if you're looking for anything to be done, make sure you check them out at www.regroupbuildingservices.com. Once again, that's www.regroupbuildingservices.com, where they do the honeydews that your honey don't. Make sure you tell them Josh sent you. PM Plus, providing capital reserve studies for condominium and homeowners associations in Northern Virginia, Maryland, and D.C. for the past 30 years. Now serving the I-81 corridor from Hagerstown, Maryland to Stanton, Virginia. All right, we're back. Week 15 breakdown in the National Football League. Once again, I'm riding with Dan and Carlos on the 100th edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast. So once again, thank you to Carlos for taking lead on the college football segment. But
good work, Carlos.
Good, yes. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Great work,
Kirby.
Carlos.
Every time you bring up that this is the 100th episode, I feel like we need the like a sound effect every time, like a little party thing.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
Exactly. Let's get right into it, boys. Week 15 started off Thursday night. An incredible matchup in Las Vegas. Probably hit the nail in the coffin for the Raiders' playoff hopes, and the Raiders probably will not be going to the playoffs. But this game, back and forth all night, went into overtime. You have Marcus Mariota coming in for the Las Vegas Raiders after Derek Carr injures his groin. And my gosh, look at Marcus Mariota. He looked impressive. It looked like he didn't skip a beat and he wasn't backing up a quarterback. Last time we saw Mariota, he was playing down in Tennessee, but he threw 17 for 28 with 226 yards with a touchdown and an interception, an incredible touchdown pass to the tight end Darren Waller. So it was very impressive to see Mariota. Herbert played really well as well.
Lights out.
Yes, lights out. But what could have cost the Chargers the game is their darn field goal kicker. Michael Badgley blew the game pretty much, almost.
Not a good day for the brand.
3 out of his 4 field goals. It was incredible. I've never seen so many missed field goals in a game by a kicker than Michael Badgley. One of 3, and he converted all 3 extra points, but still 1 of 3 for field goals, and they barely squeaked out of there.
Hey, but that one of 3 was the one that counted because they only won by 3 points.
Yeah,
so that's all that matters.
That is true, but still, I mean, this game, impressive. Starting with you, Dan, I want to get your thoughts on Marcus Mariota getting his first action in quite a little while.
Yeah, a lot of folks thought he was going to come out and play rusty, and of course, history would tell you that's what the case would be. But certainly, I kind of think how things ended in Tennessee is he was kind of pushed out of there when they signed Ryan Tannehill, and then people kind of forgot about him, and I think that's got to serve as motivation for you. And certainly, he looks like he's been working very hard, studying a lot of film, things like that, and almost ready to go. You know what I mean? Like he just stepped in there and I thought played really well. So, I mean, I thought he was impressive for somebody who hasn't played all season and certainly, hasn't played in a long time. And he's still a young guy too. That's the thing. And, if I don't know if I'd call it a quarterback controversy by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly if, if Derek Carr has a rough night, you can trust that Marcus Mariota can play pretty well for you. So, I thought he was impressive and did a fantastic job. I don't know if there is a better backup quarterback in football right now. That's kind of a hot take, but we haven't seen a whole lot of backups play this well, and I was impressed with Mariota, and I think if he continues to develop and shows that he can play in the limited opportunities he gets, there are some bad quarterbacks in the NFL, and he might have a chance to, if not start somewhere, then certainly mentor someone.
Yeah, obviously he showed a great deal of performance play, and it was just really great to see. Carlos, turning over to you, Herbert played lights out. What were your thoughts on his performance and the Chargers as a whole?
I mean, this is like the way this game went. This is normally a game the Chargers would lose, especially with how overtime was going, because the Raiders knocked off. There was no time left in the game when they scored their field goal, if I remember correctly. There was only maybe 3 minutes left, I think there was.
Yeah, about that much.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, yeah, Herbert played lights out. I mean, would you guys say he's rookie of the year?
Ooh.
Yeah,
man.
I think so. I think so.
I I think so too. Because
27 touchdowns, 10 picks. I mean, that's really impressive for a rookie.
That's good numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the win, like the win-loss record, it's not there, and that's honestly, I put that primarily on Anthony Lynn, the head coach.
Oh, for sure.
I put it on him because he's just done a poor job of like managing. Because there's a majority of the games that they've lost, they could have easily won. For example, the Kansas City game, the first game that Justin Herbert played in. Like, they could have easily won that game, but that's besides the point. I feel like this definitely capped like his bid for Rookie of the Year, because like this was just a great performance by like some of the passes he was making. Like, you don't see a rookie make those passes. Like, people really were sleeping on Justin Herbert, and he's proven them all. Like, he's proven why the Chargers made the best like move in drafting him. Back to Marcus Mariota, though. I mean, one thing you didn't mention is the fact that he also rushed for. He was the Raiders' leading rusher for 88 yards, and he scored a touchdown running. Fantastic touchdown.
Oh yeah,
and
incredible.
And yeah, I mean, to your point, Dan, about him getting pushed out of Tennessee, I just feel like he wasn't like Ryan Tannehill is a better fit for Tennessee.
System.
Yeah. And I feel like, honestly, I feel like Marcus Mariota is a better fit for Las Vegas, better than Derek Carr. I feel like Marcus Mariota, like, people have forgotten about him. People forget that, like, this is a guy who in college, like, lit it up. Like, he lit the world on fire, and he is a Heisman Trophy winner. Like, this guy's not a slouch, and people just kind of forgot about him. That's it. And he reminded everyone, like, hey, I'm here. Like, if you guys want me, come get me. But I feel like he's definitely a lot better because the team even changed themselves. Like, it feels like with Derek Carr, they give up. And then with Marcus Mariota, they were in it the whole time.
Yeah, he gives them like a sense of hope. And I think dealing with Derek Carr I think he got drafted there around in 2014, so he's been there a while. He's lost a lot of games and had a lot of poor performances there. Maybe not a lot of games, but he's had some really bad performances. And I'm not going to say his time's up, but certainly you have to get to a point where you want to see some progression, some development. Now, in this game, obviously there was nothing really he could have done because he got hurt and he was only 3-5 in the game.
It was really weird how he got hurt too, because all he was doing was just running, and all of a sudden he just pulls up.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell?
Those are always the scariest injuries a lot of times too, with those non-contact injuries. I want to you guys talked about the Chargers in close games. 7 of their 9 wins have been by one possession or fewer. Well, I guess one possession. So they've been in a ton of close games. They just have crumbled late in games. Like against New Orleans, lost 30-27. Lost in overtime to the Chiefs, like you mentioned, Carlos. They had a win in overtime, of course, in this game, but they are a team that, outside of the New England loss where they lost 45-0, which is still puzzling to me. I don't know how that happened. But
considering how New England's looked lately.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They've been in every game, and they just haven't been able to finish them out. And I do think that goes back to the head coach. That does go back to, okay, what was clock management like? What were some of the late game decisions that costed your team? That falls back on Anthony Lynn, and he's been under a lot of fire this year. And there's some speculation that he'll be fired. I don't know how true that is, because anybody can say anything anymore, and it seems to be taken as real. So the Chargers definitely have a bright future, I think, though, especially on offense with Herbert. He's looked like a veteran quarterback. It's been a sight to behold, and he's only going to, the sky's the limit for this kid, and I've just really enjoyed watching him play this year, and I do believe he's the Rookie of the Year, and I think he will be named that at the end of the season.
This was the first game in a while where the Chargers actually defeated a division opponent. I forget how long it has been. I believe like 2019 or 18.
I think it was 2018, maybe.
Yeah.
Really?
That's insane.
This I didn't know.
Division rival.
Actually, no, wait. Last year I think they won a game against a divisional rival.
I think it was last year, 2019, but
it's been a long time. Anyway.
Yes, a big stretch since winning a division game, and they finally did it, 30-27 in overtime. But what a shootout that was on Thursday night.
Well, real quick, again, back to Justin Herbert. I mean, like, here's the other thing is, like, this dude spent all 4 years in college. Like, he didn't come out early. So, like, maybe that's why, like, because we're so used to quarterbacks only going to school for 2 years, coming out. And then, obviously they haven't, like, Justin Herbert had time to mature at Oregon and really, like, grow into, like, into who he is, like, and that's like my thing about Trevor Lawrence now going back to college football is, like, he's been there for 3 years. But then you look at a Dwayne Haskins, for instance, who only really played 1 year. And you see that, like, the maturity is not there. So
you see the difference. Exactly.
Yeah, you see the difference between somebody who stays in school for all 4 years and improves every year. And then you see how it pays off once they get to the NFL in their first year. Justin Herbert is by far, he's rookie of the year because Joe Burrow got injured. But, like, he's also been lighting up, the stat sheet, and he's just looked really good.
Absolutely. So the Chargers in overtime defeating division rival the Las Vegas Raiders and probably knocked the Raiders out of playoff contention.
No, they're out. I'm pretty sure 100% they're out. So
yeah, knocked them out of playoff contention. So the Raiders fall short of their ultimate goal of getting to the playoffs in their first year in Las Vegas, but a lot of promise, a lot of hope.
Yeah.
Future with the Raiders, but who knows? It's a long way away. Moving right along, Carlos, I know we chatted about this game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady once again
Tom Brady breaking the hearts of Atlanta Falcons fans around the world again.
It's a curse, man. It's
30,
it's a disease at this point.
Unbelievable.
Oh my gosh.
The Falcons led most of this game, and Tom Brady, we saw it once in the Super Bowl, and we saw it again. The Falcons can't catch a break against Tom Brady.
They can't play defense against him. That's the problem.
Yeah.
There's that. Well, they can play defense in the first half, but then in the second half, they just disappear. But did anybody see I saw this, like, meme on Facebook, because I finally got on Facebook. Dan, by the way, I saw you sent me a friend request. My bad.
It's okay.
I need to say yes to that. But I went on there for the first time in forever.
Where's my friend request? I just sent you one too.
Kirby, we're not friends.
Back to the show.
Oh, that's a roast.
That's a roast.
We're just having fun.
Keep Kirby. You better keep that in.
Yeah.
No, but anyways, no, there was a picture from the Super Bowl. From Super Bowl 51 where Brady's on the bench and he's, like, kind of like slouched over and he's got, like, his arms on his knees while he's sitting on the bench and he's got his head down. And then there's a picture from Sunday where he's in that same exact position. And it was like, if you see Brady in this position, you're in trouble. And that's exactly what happened. Brady came and just laid the smackdown on them. It was incredible. I just can't believe that this happened to Atlanta again.
Yeah, and all the crap that Tom Brady's gotten this year, and, at times rightfully so, especially in some games, he just looks straight up lost. But it's moments like these where you're just reminded of how damn good Tom Brady is and how good he's been throughout his career. When people start doubting him and things like that, he always answers no matter what the situation is. As much as I don't like him because he wins so much and he won so much in New England, and for other reasons, but it's just unreal. It's just mind-blowing that he just continues to do this, and at his age, 19th year in the NFL, actually 20th season, actually, if you count the end of this year, it's just this shouldn't be happening, right? I mean, a guy who is 43 years old should not be throwing 390 yards, and 2 touchdowns and leading a team from a massive comeback. Now, his weapons, and I think I've talked about this before on this podcast, are, probably top 3 in the NFL as far as targets to throw to. But still, somebody's got to throw the ball. And when Brady's locked in, man, I don't know. I really think Tampa Bay can surprise some people in the postseason. If they're able to, if they're able to get in, that is. And, right now they're the 6th seed, so they're kind of on the edge. But
Second
sorry.
top receiver in this game, by the way, Antonio Brown. So he's making a comeback.
Yeah, it's about time he showed his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He might get kicked out of the league next week, but at least he had 93 yards.
Might pull a Myles Garrett or something during the game and just swing his helmet.
Smack him with the helmet.
Yeah. It's just unreal to me, and people forget about that. I mean, that's not what they're going to talk about on First Take or whatever. They're going to spend more time talking about, how bad Pittsburgh is, which makes me smile, but
it makes me smile too.
Yeah. But like, it shouldn't happen. You shouldn't have a 43-year-old throwing for almost 400 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's just insane.
I mean, it shouldn't happen that you go into halftime with the 17-0 lead and then you get outscored 31-10.
Yeah,
like it just shouldn't. It shouldn't happen. Like, here's my thing: is like, this is who Atlanta is now. They've been doing it all season, and it started ever since that Super Bowl. It just feels like they can't get that stench of that Super Bowl off. That every time they have a big lead, you're always still on the edge of your seat going, are they going to blow this? They're going to blow this. Matt Ryan's going to blow this. It's time for them. I think, honestly, they need to just clean house. They need to get rid of everybody and start anew, because that stench from that Super Bowl is stuck on all the people who participated in that, and it's still showing up in the results.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this game, the Falcons outscored the Bucs in the first half 17-0. Like, even if you're up, I don't know what goes on in the locker room, but still, you need to make adjustments according to what went on in the first half. I mean, obviously, it just looks like they didn't make any adjustments. It looks like the Falcons took a step back and the Buccaneers were ready. Bruce Arians, I'm sure as heck, was not happy that they were down 17-0 at halftime. And Bruce Arians sure as hell made adjustments to make sure that they would come out and score in the second half. And they put up 21 to Atlanta's 7 in the third quarter, and then 10 to Atlanta's 3 in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, obviously the Falcons are 4-10. They're not going to make the playoffs, but I mean, it's just insane to see them lose in this fashion when they're up 17-0 like that. Like, what could possibly went wrong in that locker room? What was going through their minds? Like, it looks like they literally took a step back, and here we are with a 31-27 Bucs win.
All right, I have some stats here. We talk about how the Falcons have become choke artists. 4th time this season.
Hit me with these stats.
All right, here we go. You ready? This is thanks to Sporting News on Twitter, and I'm sure they have a website as well. So here we go. The first game this season was actually, let me make sure I got this in the right order. Here we go. Was when they played Dallas. They were up 39-30. They had a 99.9% chance to win. Guess what? They blew it. Next game, Atlanta and Chicago, 26-10. Atlanta had a 99.3% chance to win, and they lost. Then the Lions. Man, oh man, the Lions.
Oh my God.
That's extra embarrassing. 22-16. I think if I remember correctly, that was a last-second touchdown. Or there was only a couple seconds left when Matt Stafford threw the game-winning touchdown. 22-16, that was a 96.6% chance that they'd win. And now this past weekend, 24-7, they blow the lead. They had a 95.3% chance to win. I don't know if it's something in their psyche now that's stuck there, that for some reason they just feel like this is who we are now. And I think both of you guys mentioned that, especially you, Carlos. and I totally agree. I just think at a certain point, you just have to start over, just like you said, Carlos. You can't. This isn't acceptable.
Mhm.
And now you're 4-10. There's no reason why the Falcons should be that bad. And it's just mind blowing. These are just things we just don't see that often. When you have a team like the Falcons that's done it so many times, it's just insane.
And then especially considering the fact that Matt Ryan is a former MVP. A lot of people forget about that.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan's won a league MVP before. And just like, and it hasn't been that long since they were in the Super Bowl, and just how far they've fallen off since then. Like it's just incredible to me. And I feel so bad for Falcons fans because like, this is their story. Like this is it. This has been the story since that Super Bowl. You're up big in games where you have a 99% chance of winning, and then you somehow manage to blow it.
Yeah.
They need to move on from this,
Matt Ryan,
from Julio Jones, from all these people that have been associated with that Super Bowl loss. They just need to get them out and let them go. Just let them go find another team. Go fix their legacy, because right now this is their legacy. Is being Brady's bitch, basically. How do you lose to him twice in the same way?
Yeah,
come on.
You have to build a new identity, and it starts with a whole new.
I mean,
turn of
you
the
got a
page,
new stadium,
so.
you've got new jerseys that I wasn't sure how I felt about the Falcons jerseys, but they've grown on me. I really like them, but like now you need to establish a new era with this team, one that's past Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, and that has, a brighter future, because right now this is not it.
Yeah, and you'll have a new coach next year too, so
thank God.
So you'll get that. But yeah, I totally agree. I think Matt Ryan's age has really started to show. And look, he played well, according to the stat sheet. But let's be honest, Tampa's defense is not very good. They're not the best. So they're 27th against the pass in the NFL. So that's near the bottom. If I can count, I believe there's 32 teams. So yeah, this is I totally agree with you, Carlos. I just think you have to start over and just help develop a new identity, because you're correct. This is who they are. This is how people know them. And anytime they get a lead, people ask the same question: are the Falcons going to blow this game? Something's got to give, and you have to make a change now.
Yep. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with what you said, and those stats are mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, it just shouldn't happen. Statistically it shouldn't happen, and just in real life it shouldn't happen. But
no.
Brady owns the Falcons. I think he owns a part of the team. I think he's like a 1/3 owner. So that's what it seems like.
He definitely owns real estate in their minds. Like he owns
right.
a lot of real estate in there.
It's free though.
Yeah, he's living in there rent free.
That's
All
right.
right. Moving on, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 31, the Atlanta Falcons 27. Let's move on to a game I sort of wanted to talk about. And I mean, this was one I could have left out, but still, I wanted to bring up Seattle versus Washington. How this game was like a tale of two halves, like it normally is for Washington. But Dwayne Haskins had the start once again because of Alex Smith's strained calf. So
you mean his strained hamstring, because his calf is a hamstring.
Yeah, essentially. I'm just glad it's nothing more serious, because it
Me
was
too.
on his, because like I swear if he would have broken his leg again, and like God forbid anything like that, but
Terrible.
Hopefully you can't rush him back. Obviously.
No.
The Washington
Especially not at his
football
age.
team,
Yeah.
the Washington football team against greatness and Russell Wilson. But I want to jump ahead to the second half, where the Seahawks only put up 7 points in the second half. And Washington had a shot. Russell Wilson threw an interception to Daron Payne off a deflection. And Dwayne Haskins, he was actually moving the ball pretty well in the second half, completing some good passes. But Dwayne Haskins to Logan Thomas all day seemed to be his go-to target. But obviously the Washington football team fell off short. Wilson didn't have a record high number, only 18 for 27, 121 yards. But the 2 interceptions for Haskins really hurt the Washington football team.
I thought you were going to talk longer. This is your team.
Me too.
Yeah.
That long pause. I was like, is he going to say more?
Yeah, I agree.
I have more to say, just not on the game.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, here we go. Like I've said the past few weeks, Washington can build around how good this defense is. You know, only holding Russell Wilson to 121 passing yards, and only 300 total yards. Now they dominated on the ground and pretty much had their way on the ground, with Carson, Hyde, and of course Wilson as well. So, this defense is going to keep them in games. It's just a matter of, can they field a quarterback? Because right now, Dwayne Haskins obviously isn't the answer. As much as we've talked about how good Alex Smith has played, how much time does he really have left in the NFL? What, like a year maybe? I think with all these injuries racking up, eventually, you know, I don't know if it's this offseason, but he's going to retire at some point. And the football team, I almost said it, I didn't say it. The football team is going to have to make a decision over whether they're going to draft a quarterback again or try to get a free agent or whatever they're going to try to do. But the quarterback play has just costed them games, and this is another example of it. Haskins just straight up not the answer. And also they didn't run the ball that well either. Again, McKissick only 51 rushing yards. So then you're putting more pressure on Dwayne Haskins, and that's why he had to throw it 55 times. It's just not an ideal situation. The offense has really held them back. Now, I will say Logan Thomas, like you said, Josh, what a receiver he's been this year, and also a passer as well. I believe he has 3 passing attempts.
Oh yeah.
13 catches.
Hey, former QB.
That's right. I miss those days in Virginia Tech football. 13 catches, 15 targets. He's fantastic. And he's really become the star of this offense when a lot of people thought it was going to be Terry McLaurin, who's played well this year too. They have some playmakers, but it's just not working at the quarterback position. You got to find a fix for that. And then their offensive, their run blocking is just atrocious. It's got to get better. And you know, they're not going to be able to break off big runs with McKissick and Barber if they don't do some work on their offensive line.
Well, I'll tell you, Washington is on their way to becoming a good franchise. That Ron Rivera, great step in the right direction. Their defense, Chase Young, their D-line, a huge step in the right direction. Their O-line needs some work. And let's sort of go off to the side here.
Whoa. Did we forget about me?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Jeez, just leaving Carlos behind just because he won't accept your friend request or acknowledge it on the air. Okay. Crazy.
No, okay, let's bring in the Cowboys fan. Let's get your thoughts.
You see, that's what I was about to say. I was like, just because I'm well, not for the rest of this season, but just because I'm a Cowboys fan.
In general.
Okay. Doesn't mean I don't have opinions about this team, okay?
I apologize from the bottom of my heart.
Sure.
That sounded sincere. God, if I've ever heard a sincere apology.
All right, but anyways, no. I agree with you, Dan, though, that Dwayne Haskins is not the answer to this team at all. He's just not. It was like we talked about earlier with Justin Herbert. He's just not mature and developed enough for this. And my thing is that we've talked about this on the podcast before, is that Dwayne Haskins is in a position right now where he can sit back and learn from Alex Smith the same way Patrick Mahomes did. And Patrick Mahomes always attributes to why he's so successful in the league he always attributes it to learning behind Alex Smith for that one season that he did. Mm-hmm. But per the story that you guys told me before we got on the air that I had no idea happened, it just
that's
proves
what we're about to get into.
Yeah, it just proves that like he's not, he's just not mature enough. He only played one meaningful season in college, in which I don't even think they made the playoff that year, if I remember correctly.
No,
So
they
it's
missed
like,
it.
so it's like I never understood the Dwayne Haskins hype. I understood that he threw for 50 touchdowns in the one season in college, but to me, it's like but how developed are you? It's clear that he's not going to be Ron Rivera's guy, and Ron Rivera needs an Alex Smith to really like run the team. And it's like I told another buddy of mine who is a Washington football team fan. I almost said it too, Dan. I almost said it.
I've slipped up a couple times on this podcast.
Yeah, it's just it's kind of ingrained in us. We're still learning to not say it, but like it's like I told him, I was like, Alex Smith is the answer for you guys to win right now. They're still in it. Luckily this loss didn't like kick them out of the playoffs or anything in contention. They're still in the driver's seat, but they need Alex Smith back as fast as possible because Dwayne Haskins just isn't going to get the job done.
Yeah, and before Kirby jumps and tells us this news, if you're just looking at the rankings, we talked about how good Washington's defense is. They are fantastic, especially against the pass. Third in the NFL, fourth overall defensively. It's the offense that's held them back, and they're 29th in the NFL in offense. So, they know what they have to address, and especially the run game. If you can get the run game going effectively and be a top 15, top 10 running team, then that opens up the passing game, and you're going to have a lot more open receivers and a lot more easy throws for your quarterback, whether next year it's Dwayne Haskins or Alex Smith or whoever is the starting quarterback for Washington. But that's what they have to do in the future for sure.
Yeah, so like Carlos said, Washington is still in the driver's seat. And this is like fresh news for the Washington football team. Dwayne Haskins confirmed reports that he was found partying without a mask on, potentially breaking COVID protocols.
No, not potentially. He was definitely breaking.
He definitely did.
No, by the league standards.
Oh, okay.
By the league standards.
It definitely was, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I didn't hear a confirmed report. That's why I'm saying potentially. In our minds, he broke COVID protocol. In my mind, he broke COVID protocol. The situation here, he is found in an Instagram story partying with females. They're
strippers. They're strippers.
Yeah, that's all I'll say on that matter. But still, without a mask, partying after a loss.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a little bit of a fan here. I'm sorry. Okay. That's just me. But after a loss, instead of watching film, learning what you could do better, you're out there partying. What the heck is wrong with him? This is why we can't have Dwayne Haskins leading this team. He has proven to this team, he has shown to this team not once, but twice. Oh my gosh. I can't even think straight. Like, he has proven twice that he cannot lead this team. He is young, inexperienced,
He's a dope.
He makes poor decisions. He makes poor decisions. And this is another example on why Dwayne Haskins should be cut, released, and shoot off. No more.
Stay away from us.
So, okay, so listen to this. Sorry, Dan, but listen to this.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Kirby's heated. Yes. Let's go.
He's into it.
Let's go. I can't wait.
Dan's Ravens beat the Giants week 16, and Washington can beat Carolina. They win the division with 1 week left in the season. I don't see that happening with Dwayne Haskins. Reports have said that Dwayne Haskins is staying. COVID protocol, he could get fined, he could get suspended. No word on what's happening yet. But I mean, this is all or nothing. As a fan, I just want to see Washington, after all these struggles in all the controversy that came out of this season, the name change, the Post article, and I'm not even going to get into the second Post article that
today.
Yeah, that came out today. Yeah.
as well. I'm not going to get into that. That's topic for another day, but still.
That's mostly because we all have not had time to we need time to let that digest and like
Mhm.
get
A day or two
information
at
on
least.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but still, all the controversy that Ron Rivera got thrown into, his cancer diagnosis, I just want to see them make it to the playoffs with a losing record. I don't care if it's a winning or losing record.
I like how he had to make sure he say that.
He could have said with an 8-8 record. He was like, with a losing record. I just want them to make it in with a losing record.
Exactly.
I don't care. I don't care winning record, losing record. I want to see them make it in. I don't give a crap if they win a playoff game. This is just saying to the fans that Ron Rivera is the answer and he can lead this team to change. Dwayne Haskins out there partying will not get the job done. And I'm not sure why he isn't cut already. For crying out loud. He should be cut.
Well,
they can't cut him because they don't have any other. They don't have any quarterbacks. They don't have any more quarterbacks. They don't know
Give
how
Logan
Alex
Thomas
Smith
the
is doing.
snaps for all I care. Dwayne Haskins can't get the job done. He's an irresponsible
not ready.
athlete.
Come on. We all know Logan Thomas was a great collegiate quarterback.
But he's not an NFL guy. No.
He doesn't have a chance to get prepared. A full week is not enough for a tight end, who, by the way, has been converted to a tight end about 4 or 5 years now. To get ready to play quarterback in a game, that just doesn't make sense.
So let me ask you this. Dan, you follow a lot of news on COVID and stuff. I want to get your thoughts. You see Dwayne Haskins partying with no mask. Who knows if these girls could have COVID or not? Because COVID, you could be asymptomatic. They let Dwayne Haskins back into the facility. And then a COVID outbreak happens.
Yep.
What are your thoughts there? Would you let Dwayne back into the facility?
If he has COVID or just in general?
In general.
I don't know. First of all, these players get tested every single day before they even enter the facility.
Yeah.
So he's going to get his temperature taken and COVID tested anyways. So I don't think you can disbar him from the facility because, like Carlos and I said, they don't have anybody else. They don't have anyone who's prepared right now to play quarterback on Sunday except for him. So you have to, I wouldn't be surprised if the team disciplines him now, fines him or something along those lines. I think that's an appropriate response now. And then you get to the end of the season and then you make your decision. Is this guy the future? Because we've given him 2 years and he hasn't shown any improvement. He's shown that he's immature. And then you move on from him. But you don't disbar him from the facility, going back to to wrap up what I said, because they don't have anyone else, and these players get COVID tested every day, and they get their temperatures checked every day. So you would know, if he had COVID. You'd be able to figure it out. But I think something else they could do, Josh, and this has to do with COVID too, is make him stay at home the rest of the week. He can't go anywhere except at the team facility. I don't know if you can enforce that exactly, but sort of like a mini quarantine sort of deal. And if he starts to show symptoms, then at that point.
Honestly, it's ridiculous. I cannot believe that the Washington football team picked him, drafted him.
So mad, it's hilarious.
He's so mad. But real quick, okay. Well, the reason why they picked him was because he had a lot of weren't they originally? They were thinking of drafting somebody prior to that. What draft was he in again? Who was that was
2018.
Was that? Oh damn! Who was in that draft? I don't even remember anymore.
I have to go back and look. Hold on a sec.
Well, while you do that, I'll just say this. I mean, so Haskins tweeted an apology, and he said he took full responsibility for putting the team at risk. It was irresponsible and immature, and I accept responsibility for my action. He also issued an apology to his teammates for creating a distraction during our playoff push. He has since put his Twitter on private, which weak move in my opinion. Like,
and he
dude, like,
deleted his account for like 30 minutes.
well, it doesn't say that here. It just says that he put his Twitter account on private. But like, come on, dude. Like you know that you're a public figure. You know that every move you're going to do is scrutinized. You knew this was going to happen.
Yep.
So it's like everybody keeps saying it takes all of us right now, and I understand your frustration, Kirby, because like you guys are in the middle of a playoff push, like he said, and like he is the quarterback right now. You have to lead by example. That's what every quarterback has to do. And when your quarterback is immature and incompetent, and quite frankly, he's just a stooge, like you're not going to win with this guy. He's clearly not the answer. Like you said, you want to see growth in your young quarterback. You want to see him display better leadership skills. They named him a captain this year, hoping that maybe that would make him want to.
Yeah, a captain.
Make him
what
want
has
to.
he done? What has he done?
Well, so
young rookies look up to
Kirby,
him as a captain.
Kirby.
What's the deal?
Calm down.
Kirby, relax. All right. Like, I understand.
Jeez.
Like I'm with you. Like,
I mean, that's a logical explanation, right?
He's so upset.
He's so mad. But like, I agree with you, Kirby. Like, they tried making him a captain, hoping that maybe it would be like he would grow into the role, because like now you got the captain's badge. Now you have to start acting like it. It's clear it did not work. It's clear he's not taking this seriously, and it's just clear it's time for Washington to move on from him. But they obviously can't do anything right now because they don't know if Alex Smith is ready to go or not. And even so, even if Alex Smith is ready to go, you still got to have a quarterback there to go just in case something happens.
Yeah, and so we were talking about the draft. It was the 2019 NFL draft, so I was a year off. But that was the draft where Kyler Murray was taken number 1 to obviously the Cardinals. Number 6 was Daniel Jones.
Jesus Christ.
I have a friend who's a Giants fan, and that's a whole big thing. But yeah, number 6 overall, and then number 15 was Dwayne Haskins, which.
So it was just aside from Kyler Murray, it was pretty much a weak quarterback draft.
Very, very much. You had Drew Lock taking Will Grier, Jared Stidham.
Jesus Christ.
Man.
Gardner Minshew is probably the best because he's probably the most surprising who's been pretty solid because he was the 6th round pick. So
I wish they never drafted
replaced.
Haskins as a fan. I really wish that.
I hear you.
We should have drafted Will Grier.
Come on, you don't
doesn't
mean
even
that.
play.
Yeah, you don't mean that. Listen, it's clear Dwayne Haskins is not the answer. At least we know that now. What they're gonna do with him from here on out, we don't know. But this is definitely this is a really bad look. And the thing about Dwayne Haskins is putting him putting his account on private. That's such a coward move. Like, you have to you want to show leadership, accept it. And you have to accept the scrutiny and criticism that you're about to get, and you can't run from it. Okay, he puts it on private now. What's going to happen when he opens it back up to the public? Everybody's going to bombard him again. It just shows that he's got a very weak mind, and his actions show it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more, but that's my little tangent.
Yeah, your voice is struggling there.
Yeah, I know your voice just gave out, man.
You want some hot tea for your vocal cords there, buddy?
You want to take a break for this for a second?
No. I'm good. But Seattle, Washington, 20-15, and next was still in the driver's seat, as we mentioned. If the Ravens beat the Giants and Washington beats Carolina, they win the division with 1 week to spare. Let's move on to another NFC East game. The Philadelphia Eagles fight in a valiant effort, fall to the Cardinals 33-26. But my golly goodness, Jalen Hurts has turned this Eagles team into he turned it upside down. 24 for 44, 338 yards and 3 touchdowns. Kyler Murray, another quarterback from Oklahoma, 27 for 36, 406 yards and 3 touchdowns. So this was a quarterback battle the whole way. And I'm telling you, Jalen Hurts has changed the culture in Philadelphia, and I have seen news reports saying Carson Wentz is not happy.
I don't know. I don't know about if he changed the culture, but he's definitely added some energy to this
Yeah,
team.
Agree.
not
Agree.
culture, but like the energy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was looking for that word, but it just wasn't coming out.
No, changing the culture is what Washington needs to do. Anyway,
Yeah.
starting
Let's
with
not
starting
go
with
back to
Daniel
that.
Snyder.
Let's
But
not
anyway-
Bringing it full circle again. Let's go.
We've done that twice. I love it.
Uh,
Yeah, he has given them like a shot of energy, and who gives a crap what Carson Wentz says? You're getting paid all that money. You're
what
supposed to.
have you done for me lately?
Exactly. You're supposed to be an MVP caliber quarterback. If not an MVP caliber quarterback, then at least a top 10 NFL quarterback. And he is one of the worst in the NFL.
Mhm.
He has no right to say he's upset. His big credit was that he quote unquote got the Eagles to the Super Bowl and then
Which
got
he
hurt.
didn't.
And then Nick Foles did the rest. Nick Foles won them the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
So even that, like you said, Carlos, he didn't really do. So,
Yeah.
the Eagles are impressive. If they move forward in the future with Jalen Hurts, I think they could be pretty solid. But this is another team, and I know I've said this about a couple different teams. They don't run the ball particularly well either, and they're going to need to change that. Miles Sanders being their leading back, he's got to get more down and dirty, and get more yards. He didn't play terribly in this game, but just for the future, Jalen Hurts being a rookie quarterback, he's not going to be able to throw 44 passes every game. That's going to wear on you quickly. So something's got to give. But these are really two teams with very young quarterbacks that are playing very impressively. Obviously, Kyler Murray, we know what he's done all season. He's got a great body of work, and this was a fantastic game. That was one of the really exciting games coming out on Sunday. So, the Cardinals are a better team, but watch out for the Eagles in the future, and just get rid of Carson Wentz. I mean, come on.
So let me
cares?
ask you all. Let me ask you all this: if Carson Wentz were to leave, where do you think the best fit for Carson in the league would be?
Well,
have no idea.
They can't really cut him per se because he's just got a lot of dead cap money.
That's like a
could eat all that
hypothetical for the time
So,
being.
but like, so hypothetically, my thing is that like, so it came out the report of like how he was not, happy with being a backup. Like he's not interested in a backup role. But to me, it's just like, it's to Dan's point is like, like what have you done? Like you didn't win that Super Bowl. That was Nick Foles. They built a statue. That statue that's built outside that stadium is Nick Foles, not Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
They paid you all this money, but what have you really done? Like you can barely stay healthy. You can, your quarterback plays atrocious ever since you got hurt. He was playing at an MVP level before he got hurt that Super Bowl season. Ever since he's come back from that, he just has not been the same. So it's just like, what have you done to really be to think that you have earned that, like that say of being like, oh, I don't want, I'm not a backup. You're a backup. That's what you are. Nick Foles was a backup and he went and won a Super Bowl. Okay. Like you're a backup. And to me, okay. So if Carson Wentz was going to go anywhere, maybe who's the team that he could go to?
It's really tough. It's just really tough.
I'm pretty sure New England would like him.
Yeah,
that would be a good fit.
I could definitely see that. I think he fits better in the system there than a hell of a lot better than Cam Newton does. So
yeah,
and I think Bill Belichick's about tired of him.
Cam.
So
yeah, I feel like if there was any place he could go, it would probably be to New England or to let's see, where else could he
The
go?
Lions, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say Detroit just because you never know what Matt Stafford's future is gonna hold. Because plus he's always hurt. So
Well, it's the same. Well, I mean, you're basically trading a player for the same
That's
player
true.
because I mean Carson Wentz is always hurt. To me,
That's a good point.
yeah, to me, the most logical place would probably be New England. I don't know if they could afford it because to take that contract, apparently you just have to make some tweaks to that contract and it's tradable. But I don't know if any team is really wanting Carson Wentz because what has he shown you lately?
Yeah.
You know, he's not. But I mean, back to this game. I mean, Jalen Hurts. I mean, he's just really like, yeah, he's just been lighting it up. And on top of that, Kyler Murray. I mean, he's been kind of like he was down for a little bit for a little bit of a stretch a couple weeks ago.
He's been like a roller coaster this year. Yeah.
Yeah, but like he's coming back on the up, and you can see it whenever he's able to move around a lot, and whenever he does move around a lot, it's a lot. The Cardinals play a lot better, and on top of that, you know, finally, DeAndre Hopkins finally had a. It's been a while since he's had a huge game like this, where 9 receptions, 169 yards, and that jump ball that he caught over what was it? I think it was 2 Eagles.
Yeah,
If I remember correctly. I mean, it blows my mind that Houston traded him away for so little.
that's
It still
that's why
breaks my heart.
That's why Bill O'Brien is sitting on the couch now.
That's why Billy O'Stooge isn't coaching or general managing anymore.
That's right. That blows my mind too. Why in the hell would you name your head coach your general manager? I just don't. I've never understood
to me
that.
whatsoever.
New England.
Well,
They wanted a New England type system, and
Yeah.
remember they brought Bill O'Brien from New England.
from New England, correct?
and they think, and somehow Bill O'Brien convinced the owners to just name him the general manager when
He
only
must have
one person can only do that, and that's Bill Belichick.
Yeah, he must have said, "Hey, look, my name's Bill too. Maybe I can be the general manager and the head coach." And they're like, "You're hired. Congratulations."
Oh my gosh. Okay.
We've strayed far from the Arizona Philly game.
Yeah,
Oh my
but
God.
back to the game. Yeah, definitely Jalen Hurts was impressive, and I think he might be the guy. I think he's the answer.
I agree.
Yeah, so Philadelphia falls to Arizona, but a great game all around by both quarterbacks. It's very funny. Can I just add just one joke?
No, I'm just kidding.
Since we're talking about Arizona, as you know, the 49ers have had to move to Arizona, and the 49ers just signed Josh Rosen. So technically, Josh Rosen is going back to
They
Arizona.
did. Well, no, are they still playing in Arizona? Because I
Yeah,
thought
for
that
the
was only
rest
for
of the
2
season.
weeks.
For the rest
I
of
thought-
the season.
Yeah, but I don't know how many home games do they have left.
That's what I'm saying. How many
It
home
was a
games do they have
joke I
left?
saw on Twitter. That's what I was getting at.
Oh,
Listen, if you want to talk about a guy who's been so mismanaged, it was Josh Rosen. That dude, that kid deserved better.
Yeah. All right, moving
I don't know.
on.
Anyway.
Moving on, the Chiefs and the Saints. Dan thought the Chiefs would blow out the Saints
did.
by 3 touchdowns. That did
did.
not happen. Drew Brees came back. Let's take a look at his numbers. 15 for 34, 234 yards with
Was
3
0
touchdowns
for
and an
5.
interception. After the game, Drew Brees said he wasn't 100%, but
Well, you
he
could tell,
needed to be back
Yeah, you could.
in this game.
I mean, yeah,
That's what he said.
15, almost, 19 incompletions on 15 attempts. Yeah, he was rusty at times, and how this game started just in the first quarter, I was like, oh no, this game is turning out exactly like I said it would. But give credit where credit's due. They really turned it around, and Drew Brees was finally able to start clicking because he really had a tough start to this game. But like we've talked about before, Kansas City, it's just so hard to not give up points to them on every single drive because they have so many weapons and they can go to everyone on the field. And Patrick Mahomes throws it to 8 different receivers or whatever this is. It just doesn't matter. Like, they're just so freaking good. Eight receivers exactly. So I just guessed on that by looking at it quickly. I'm glad I was right. And then also Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which his injury wasn't as serious as they thought it was, correct? I wasn't sure.
I did not see anything more about that from what I've been reading. I all I know is that he got carted off, taken off, and he did not return, which is huge. If it, Le'Veon Bell obviously did score a touchdown since he had to take most of the carries after Elaire leaving, but
Yeah.
that's going to be a big blow.
Hold on.
Clyde cannot come back.
We're talking about Clyde, right?
Yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
The source says that he's may have suffered a high ankle sprain, so he could be out for the rest of the regular season, but he could be back for the playoffs.
Man.
Well, they don't need him for the next 2 games anyway.
Listen,
so.
if Le'Veon Bell can get going, then for sure they don't need him. Le'Veon Bell just has to get going.
And they have Patrick Mahomes, so
they don't
need a running backs.
You have the greatest quarterback in the game right now, and Patrick Mahomes.
Yes, he is. That touchdown pass he threw, where there were 2 receivers right in the corner of the end zone, and he just kind of flicked it. Oh my gosh, man! I
don't understand how he does these things.
No other quarterback can do that. No other quarterback.
Maybe Aaron Rodgers.
Maybe Aaron Rodgers. That's what I was about to say. But Aaron Rodgers now, I'm not sure. Aaron Rodgers of 8 to 10 years ago. Oh my gosh, he was unstoppable. But this Chiefs team, they are extremely difficult to stop. And the Chiefs or the Saints defense really did a pretty good job early on in the game and early on in the second half too. They kind of had the Chiefs frustrated, but they're one of those teams that it's just a flip of a switch and all of a sudden, boom, they're 5 plays in the end zone, boom, 3 plays in the end zone. Or they can kill you with one of those long drives, which I think that touchdown pass that I talked about, which was to the corner of the end zone, was a very long drive. They are the most complete team in the NFL. I don't think anyone is going to argue that right now. And I think they're definitely the favorite to come out of the AFC. But they've showed some weaknesses too on defense. I think especially they've shown that they can be exposed. And Drew Brees, he says he wasn't 100%. I would say he looked probably less than 60%, probably around 55%. Just he was kind of grabbing towards his ribs a couple times and things like that. And just early on, it took him a while. And also, he took a big shot to the ribs. I don't know if you guys saw that early on in the game.
I did. I saw it.
I was like, God, that
oh my
must
God,
hurt like hell. Like I can't imagine getting hit like that when you have a rib injury.
Yeah, there's no way he's completely because he had he had a crap ton of broken ribs. Yeah, I can't remember the exact number right now.
I think he had 7 or 8 or something like that.
Yeah,
it was a lot.
For some reason I'm thinking 8, but it might be more than 8. I don't know if you even have more than 8 ribs, but and then a punctured lung, and I'm just like, how the hell do you come back right now?
It's insane. Stuff like that really hurts. It probably was hard for him to even breathe.
Yeah. I've heard that's one of the most painful injuries you can get. Hopefully I never have to experience it, but
me too.
I think the Saints I think it depends on how Drew Brees is feeling this week, but maybe you just put Taysom Hill in there. Why not? You don't really have much to lose at this point in the season.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, Dan. I feel like Taysom Hill. I feel like the best move right now is just go with Taysom Hill until the playoffs. Just do what the Broncos did with Peyton Manning the year they won the Super Bowl. They finished the season with Brock Osweiler, and then they played Peyton for the playoffs. Yep. So I mean, it's clear Drew Brees does not have what it takes to play a whole regular season anymore. I do think that this is the end. I think whenever the season ends for them, I feel like he's going to retire because he's got that job at NBC waiting for him anyways.
Yeah.
So I mean, he looked really bad in the beginning of the game. He really did. And I do attribute that to Russ because he hasn't played in a couple weeks. So and then on top of that, it was that's a bad injury. You break 8 ribs and a punctured lung.
Yeah.
And then you get smacked in the first quarter and you're just like, oh my God. And he got it going a little later on, but I just don't think he has what it takes anymore to be a full-time quarterback anymore. And
yeah. And putting Taysom Hill in there, you're hosting the Vikings on Christmas Day. and then you're traveling to Carolina in the last game. These games
You
really
don't.
don't
Yeah,
mean anything.
you don't need him.
So,
You don't need Drew Brees.
You can
Like, just
can run the football and do slant routes with how good their receivers are. You don't need Drew Brees for those two
But then
games.
also to me, it's just like, then why the hell did they sign Jameis Winston if they were never going to play him?
Yeah, I think
Because-
that's a good question.
Because
It was
Jameis is a more traditional type quarterback who can make the throws that you need for this offense. Taysom can't make these types of throws.
Yeah, I agree.
It was funny because it was like a big coincidence because they were talking before the game on what happens if Drew Brees can't go and or he gets injured. Taysom Hill was the only option because Jameis Winston ended up on the reserve COVID
Yeah,
list.
he's on the COVID
Yeah,
list.
he did.
Yeah.
It's just bad luck.
Unfortunately, but
I was like, oh, that's bad news. That is bad news indeed. But this
and I do
game-
think that's also why Drew Brees actually did come back for this game was because initial reports were saying he wasn't going to come back for this game, that he was going to come back next week, or this week against the Vikings,
Yeah.
that he wasn't going to play against the Chiefs, and then all of a sudden it was like Friday it was announced, oh, he's going to play, and then obviously then it came out that Jameis was on the COVID reserve list.
Yeah.
So I feel like the only reason why he played was because they would only have Taysom Hill, and what happens if Taysom Hill gets injured? They have nobody left.
Yeah, that's a great
Absolutely.
point.
But this game all around was a very competitive, close game. I thought the Chiefs would blow them out too, Dan, but they kept it really close the whole
Yeah,
all the way around.
Yeah, it started off that way, but it became the instant classic that
Yeah.
that it should have been.
Yeah.
You see, I never thought the Chiefs were going to blow out the Saints. I did think the Chiefs were going to win, but I did think New Orleans would keep it competitive. But I mean, it's like Dan said earlier. Who can anybody stop the Chiefs? Can anybody do it? They're the most complete team, and like you said, they do have some weak points on defense. But who can stop them right now?
I don't think anybody in the AFC, especially the way Pittsburgh is.
I don't think anybody in the NFC. I think maybe in the AFC, the best team that's got a shot is the Bills.
The Bills.
That's about it.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it comes down to the road to the Super Bowl, and the AFC will go through Kansas City.
Oh,
I mean,
no
it's
doubt.
a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
At this
no
point.
doubt.
Absolutely. But that's Kansas City, New Orleans, 32-29. Some other scores throughout Week 15. On Saturday, Buffalo wraps up their division, winning 48-19 over the Broncos. Green Bay over Carolina, 24-16. You have Tennessee over Detroit, 46-25. Indianapolis over Houston, 27-20. You have Miami beating New England 22-12, eliminating New England from playoff contention.
Ending the reign of the Empire.
Yes. The Bears over the Vikings 33-27. Really quickly, let's get into one more game. My goodness, the Cincinnati Bengals pulled out an upset. Dan, are you happy?
Oh, I'm happy, and especially after Juju was dancing on midfield, and then
He's
on the
gotta
first
stop.
drive of the game, he gets absolutely blown up by Von Bell. That
that was
That-
awesome.
made
Oh
me
my
smile.
gosh.
That was
After-
awesome.
I was like, Dan called this on Twitter. Dan called this.
I was like, you need to stop this nonsense.
needs
You're
to
gonna get
stop.
hit, and boom, he gets just absolutely crushed.
I could
That was
not
that was a fantastic defensive play, but that kind of set the tone for this game. And give Ryan Finley a lot of credit. He played well against a not too shabby Pittsburgh defense, especially a Pittsburgh pass rush that was really in his face for a lot of the game. He took some really big shots. So yeah, I'm very happy. It's a little concerning for me as a Ravens fan because we need Pittsburgh to beat Indianapolis on Sunday, and we need to win, and then we're officially in the playoffs. But I don't know, man. The way they're playing right now, I just don't know if they win another game this year. I almost think they lose out. But
Yeah, I
maybe,
would like.
and if they lose out, by the way, they lose the division because the Browns win the division.
I mean,
So-
yeah. Pittsburgh only has a game lead now over Cleveland.
Yeah,
And don't they play Week 17?
they do. They do.
Oh
Or I'm
my
sorry.
gosh.
Yes. Yeah, they play
Yes,
Week
uh-huh.
17. Yeah. So honestly, that game could be for the division. But on top of that, man, how did Pittsburgh get to 11-0?
I have no idea.
Like how
they do not look like an 11-0 team.
They don't look like the same team that was winning all 11 of those games. They can't run the ball for anything, and you cannot put terrible. it on Big Ben to throw. You know, didn't he throw something like 40 something times like recently?
Yeah, he threw 38, and I believe
he threw 38 in this game. Yeah,
and I believe he threw in the 50s 2 weeks ago, and then he threw like 45 passes last week. So his arm has,
it's taking a beating.
It's just taking a toll, especially at his age, where you're not supposed to be doing that. Like I said earlier with Tom Brady, same sort of thing. But it's just crazy. Like, and all these great receivers Pittsburgh has, where have they been? You know, where's Chase Claypool the last 3 weeks? Where's Juju Smith? Well, I'm not even talking about Juju. He's not. He's
been on the 50-yard line dancing on the beat.
That's right. He's wasting all his energy before the game.
I don't understand why he continues to do it, knowing that it keeps giving their opponents, at least the past like 2 weeks, it has been giving them motivation. At some point you have to like look at yourself and be like, okay, this is not helping. This is hurting our team. I understand that this is my personality because apparently dancing on TikTok is a personality trait now. It's just, you're not helping the case. Why? It's the same thing that we talked about earlier in the show with Dabo Swinney talking a lot of smack about Ohio State. You're giving the other team motivation.
It's just karma. Yeah.
And it's going to come back and bite you in the ass. So to me, it bit Juju Smith-Schuster in the ass. How do you lose to this Cincinnati team?
Can I just say one thing? Washington ruined Pittsburgh.
They did.
Yeah, and then the week before when they almost lost to the Ravens practice squad, I think that's what started all of it. And then Washington came in and cleaned it up, and then after that, it's just been downhill.
But boys, let's be honest. We saw the cracks in the armor when they almost lost the freaking fourth string quarterback of Dallas.
Bro, we almost beat him with RG3, who I think had one of the worst quarterback ratings I've ever seen in a game.
RG3, and then Trace McSorley came in
after that game.
He did. It was like perfect timing.
Poor RG3, he can't catch a break anymore.
I feel bad for him.
I do too. You got to think at some point, Mike Tomlin he's a great coach. He's a very passionate coach.
Yeah, I don't care what you say.
Oh, he's one of the best coaches in football.
He is still a great coach.
No doubt.
I don't care what anybody says, because this Steelers team, I mean, he hasn't had a losing record in his entire tenure in Pittsburgh. So I don't want people to go out saying Tomlin needs to get fired. He's done. He's a joke. They're 11-3.
It's not Tomlin's fault. Yeah, these games are not his fault.
They're 11-3.
Yeah.
They don't look like a high caliber team that looks like they'll win. They certainly don't look like the Kansas City Chiefs by any means. But Mike Tomlin is still the leader for that Pittsburgh Steelers team, and he still knows how to get the job done.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that, soon, I think after this performance, he's going to tell Juju to delete his TikTok account. You have to, because not only has it become a distraction now,
you got blown up.
You got national media attention on this now, and probably international media attention, and memes being made like I've never seen before of the how it started, how it's going. That's the dancing, and then the hit. Man, it's just everywhere. Like, and we talked about changing your identity. Sometimes you can't always do it as a football team with one thing, but I think telling Juju to stop doing that, especially on an opposing team's field, it's just disrespectful. And give a bunch of credit to the Bengals though. They played inspired football. They played some of their best defense that I've seen in a very long time. And they also Giovanni Bernard had a fantastic game too. So tons of credit to them. Ryan Finley might, I don't know if he can be a starting quarterback in the NFL. He was pretty good in this game. No. This is one of those situations where he was just a game manager, and that's all it was. So But give credit to Cincinnati too. I don't think they're getting enough credit, just in general, because we're all talking about the collapse of the Steelers. But it definitely goes both ways, and you know, who knows? I just don't know if Pittsburgh. Oh man, I'm just worried about them if they do make the playoffs, because I mean,
they won't go far.
No,
I can guarantee you that.
If they go up
They
against
will
the
not go
Chiefs,
far.
if they go up against the Chiefs or the
They will
Bills,
get blown
they're
out.
they're not going to win at all. They have no shot.
Yeah.
Well, right now they have to host
Yeah.
the Colts, and the Colts have been hot the second half.
I
of the
wouldn't be
season, so you never
surprised
know.
if Phillip Rivers lights their defense up, for crying out loud.
Yeah, their secondary has been picked on a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even with the talent they have, like Joe Hayden. Think of how good the secondary was at the beginning of the season with Joe Hayden leading the way.
Freaking Minkah Fitzpatrick.
And Minka Fitzpatrick, yeah, literally was playing. We're both balling and playing lights out. And for whatever reason, it just hasn't clicked in the second half of the season. So Pittsburgh definitely the most concerning team right now. But as a Ravens fan, I'm not concerned about them. In fact, this is the happiest I've ever been. So
Yeah.
just keep losing, baby. But please beat the Colts so we can get into the playoffs. Thank you.
Yeah, because
All right.
unfortunately, you guys do need help.
It's just crazy. We could go 11-5 and miss the playoffs. I mean, it's just a
I
slap in
mean,
the face.
it's like that one. It's like the 2008 Patriots. They won
Yeah, they
11-5, and then
Yep.
I think it was like the Seahawks got in that year with a losing record.
Yep, exactly.
Wow.
Or it's like this season, Washington might get in with a losing record, and Baltimore could be sitting out looking at 11-5, even though they play for the other conference. But still,
Yeah,
the point
yeah.
being, they got to figure this playoff system out sometimes.
I'm Josh. Dan and Carlos riding with me on the 100th edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Let's move into the Nuggets segment of our podcast. Short and sweet, guys. First and foremost, the New York Jets beat the Los Angeles Rams.
Oh my god!
Even
Listen.
here's my summary. Even when the Jets win, they lose.
They lose. They
That's all I got.
lose. I was literally gonna
No
say the
Trevor
same thing.
Lawrence for them.
I feel so bad for the Jets fans because they wanted their team to do what they do best. The one thing that they have consistently done best, and that's lose. And they did the opposite. And now by all accounts, it looks like Trevor Lawrence is going to Jacksonville. He's going to Duval County.
I have a feeling the Jacksonville Jaguars might make a case for Trevor Lawrence and Dabo Sweeney.
No. Dabo's not.
No,
leaving.
dude, Dabo's not going to go to the NFL.
I
Dabo's
heard
not an
something on
NFL
Twitter
coach.
about it. I'm not sure if those rumors could
Look,
be
No.
true, but I saw
We have to-
something about it.
We'd have to look this up, but I'm sure Dabo's making more than a lot of NFL coaches are. At Clemson.
He is.
I'd be
Dabo's
willing
making
to
a
bet.
lot of money at Clemson, and honestly, he's like next in line to take over the Alabama job whenever Nick Saban leaves.
Yeah, and plus he has connections because he was, he went to Alabama, so perfect.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, I
It's,
guess
it's the
those
same thing as
rumors
Saban.
I saw-
Saban's like a lifetime college coach, short time in the NFL. We saw
Didn't
how
do
bad
good.
that went, and he goes back to college and he stays there. That's exactly what Dabo is. It's the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, like some coaches are college coaches and just don't work out. I don't think Dabo's style works in the NFL
No.
because I feel like he's more of a he's more of a teacher of young men than he is of grown men.
Yeah, that buddy stuff doesn't really work in
No.
the NFL. You have
No.
you have a lot more personalities to deal with in the NFL than you do in college. So
Yeah, but the Jets,
anyway,
I can't believe it, over the 9-5 Rams.
yeah.
That's the other incredible thing is it was against the Rams who were first in their division. They were the number 3 seed. I want to say they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were the 3rd seed. Obviously, they had to be the 3rd seed because Washington would be the 4th. And like, how do you lose to the Jets? Like, I don't understand. And I mean, congratulations to the Jets players. They will not be going down in the history books as the defeated team along with Cleveland and Detroit. But I mean, I just don't
know.
understand how do you not this Jets, I see my mind doesn't even work. I can't comprehend this. Like I can't get words. I don't understand what happened, but Congratulations, New York. You guys won a game, but you lost on a generational talent in Trevor Lawrence, and now he's
Just
going to
unreal.
Jacksonville.
Just unreal.
The
You can't make this stuff up. You know, you can't. You couldn't put this stuff in a movie and people would believe.
This is Adam Gase's last fuck you to the Jets fans. Oh, you guys thought you were getting a generational talent? Ha psych.
The next nugget, the Baltimore Ravens seem to be slumping for a little while, but it looks like they're getting hot at just the right time. Beating the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have an easy schedule to finish out the year.
Yeah.
Dan, this question primarily to you, but Carlos, you can hop in if you want.
Can
Ravens,
I go first before Dan goes on a long tangent? Because I know he probably will.
Yeah, go ahead. Do you think the Ravens picked up enough steam in time to make it to the playoffs?
I think they did. I think the Ravens are looking really, really. They're looking like they did last season now.
Yep.
And the more I think about it, I just think it was just mostly because of like all the COVID stuff that was happening in the middle of the season. I think that really hindered on how much they could really do as a team. And now that they've got everybody back and everybody has pretty much recovered from COVID, now you're seeing Baltimore being Baltimore again. But I do want to hear what Dan has to say about this.
Yeah, I think the last couple weeks now we've seen glimpses of that team last year, and I think I talked about this last week on the podcast. They've let, I don't know if they've let Lamar run more or he's gotten more comfortable running, because it seemed like throughout most of the season he's kind of gotten a little gun shy trying to run the football. That's how a lot of his big plays downfield happen, whether it's through the pass or through the run. He gets outside the pocket, creates an extra 3 or 4 seconds, and either a receiver gets open or he takes off, and his speed is just insane when he's in the open field. But that was their recipe for success last year. We haven't seen it as much this year until last week against Cleveland, when we really saw it, especially towards the end of the game after he changed his cleats. Finally, it took him long enough to change into. They looked like tennis shoes almost, but it's really starting to come together right now. And even, it's always a good sign when your backup quarterback's in the game, but when you have 2 quarterbacks behind Lamar on IR, I wasn't really sure who the quarterback was, and it was Huntley, and he actually had a pretty nice 18-yard or 19-yard run rather. Where people were joking that he kind of looked like Lamar. So these are the kind of games you have to blow teams out, and the Ravens took advantage of it. And like you said, easy schedule from here on out. Of course, they have the Giants this week, and the Bengals in Week 17, which I don't want to say I'm worried about playing Cincinnati, but certainly after how they upset Pittsburgh, I'm not feeling the greatest about that game now. But I think this is just an example of getting hot at the right time. The world was ending for this team a month ago, and the way they played, especially after that loss to New England, I thought, for me, in my opinion, that was the end of the season. It was a very sloppy game in the rain, a lot of turnovers, just not a good game by Lamar. But they've gotten back to what made them a successful and 14-2 team last year, and that's letting Lamar do what Lamar does, and that's run around, create plays. And I don't know if it can work in the playoffs, because in the 2 playoff games he's played in, defenses have kind of hindered him. So I'm not going to say that we're going to make a run or anything like that, but they finally gotten the running game going again. J.K. Dobbins has been fantastic. So 64 yards on the ground and a touchdown. But the thing that most impresses me is how the receivers have progressed the last couple weeks, considering where they were just 5 or 6 weeks ago, with all the drop passes, the routes that weren't run correctly that ended up being interceptions, and a lot of drops this season for this wide receiving core. But Marquise Brown had a fantastic game, almost 100 yards receiving, 6 catches. He's really starting to play well. And the same thing with Mark Andrews. Those guys, when Lamar creates extra time, he can get the ball down the field. And I also think an overlooked part of this team that shouldn't be overlooked is how well their defense has played too. Not necessarily against Cleveland, because you give up 40-some points, but they have the ninth best defense in the NFL right now, 10th against the run. They have one of the best front fours. And like Carlos said, with COVID and all the injuries they've had on the defensive line and on the offensive line and all those they've had to shuffle around. They're finally getting to a point now where they've had some consistency in both those areas. We've seen, a guy like Calais Campbell come back after missing so many weeks. And that's, though, 2 or 3 players on both sides of the ball really make a huge difference. And, teams know that. They attack the weaknesses. And I just think I'm very happy where the team is right now. I was a little nervous after the first drive of the game where Lamar threw that really bad interception. And I was like, oh, man, you got to be kidding me. Like, the season can't end this way. But they certainly picked it up after that. And they're one of the best rushing teams in the NFL. And I still think great rushing teams win games. I don't know if it'll necessarily help them in the playoffs, but they lead the league in rushing offense. And that's been something they've gotten back to in the last month. That's led them to 3 straight wins, and now right on the edge of the playoffs. They need a little bit of help, but they also just gotta have to take care of their own business, and that starts with beating the Giants, which we should crush them by 20 points at least.
Especially if Colt McCoy plays.
Oh my gosh, he's so bad. He's so awful.
Sucks.
So they have to feast in this game Sunday, and I really hope they do. But I mean, I'm very pleased, especially where I was 3 weeks ago, where I said the season was over, and they had just crumbled under pressure. But they've had a lot of injuries. COVID hit them harder than any other NFL team, obviously with 20 players with the COVID outbreak, and that hurt them as well because if you remember that game against Pittsburgh, I mean, they had guys playing that they had to sign from. They had to call it from the practice squad, for God's sake. So the fact that they were even competitive in that game was impressive. And I'm just very pleased with how this team can play. I do think we'll get some help, and I think we'll do our part and win out. And I'm not going to make any predictions for the playoffs because I think the AFC is so strong from the first seed through the 7th seed that you just never know. So, yeah, that's my little tangent. And I hope we come out and just hit Colt McCoy early and often and get him rattled, and I think that'll be the recipe for success on Sunday.
All right, so that wraps up the 2 nuggets for Week 15 in the National Football League. We're not done on the 100th edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Coming up next, Line 'em Up, our weekly segment with Zach Ruff. Zach, take it away.
Welcome to the Week 16 edition of Line 'em Up. I'm Zach Ruff of ProFootballAction.com and at the Zach Mamba on Twitter. Let's get right into it. First up, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Detroit Lions. The Bucs are a 9.5 favorite, and the over-under is 53.5 points. Tampa Bay has yet to clinch a playoff spot and are 1 game behind New Orleans for the division. Antonio Brown had his most impactful game in recent memory with 5 catches for 93 yards and a touchdown. The Bucs' 29th ranked rushing attack has to generate more than 94 yards per game moving forward, especially if they want to make any noise in the playoffs. The Lions are 1-2 since firing head coach Matt Patricia, though both losses came at the hands of the Packers and the Titans, both playoff teams. Rumors about Matthew Stafford and where he will play next season are swirling as Detroit once again is eliminated from playoff contention. How many times have we said that sentence in the past 10 years? The Bucs are 7-7 against the spread this season, and the Lions are 5-8-1. Combined, the teams are 17-11 in over-unders. I'll take the Lions to cover and the under in this one. I think it's going to be closer than the 9.5 points, and both teams are going to score in the low to mid-20s. Next up, we have the Chicago Bears at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Chicago is a 7.5 point favorite, and the total is set at 47.5. The Bears are 1 game behind Arizona for the final wildcard spot in the NFC. They finish with this game against the Jaguars and next week against the Packers. The team is 7-7 against the spread and 6-8 in over-unders. David Montgomery is coming off of his first back-to-back 100-plus yard rushing games this season and has the 30th ranked Jacksonville rushing defense on deck. Jacksonville is squarely in the number 1 draft slot for the upcoming draft, thanks to the Jets' victory over the Rams last week. Even if for some reason they do not want to take Trevor Lawrence, the number 1 pick has significantly more value in a trade than the number 2 pick. Do not expect the house to be thrown at Chicago this week. The stakes are way too high. The Jaguars are 6-8 against the spread and 7-7 in over-unders on the year. Take Chicago to cover the points and the under. Finally, we have the Cincinnati Bengals at the Houston Texans. The Bengals are an 8.5-point underdog against the terrible Houston Texans, and the total is set at 45.5 points. Since he beat the Steelers by 10 on Monday, but that might not be as impressive as it looked. They are the second worst in the league at protecting their quarterback, which means Houston's pass rush might actually look good for once. Speaking of Houston, they're coming off of 3 straight losses at the hands of the Colts and Bears. It remains to be seen how much of Deshaun Watson's career will be absolutely wasted by the Houston management and Will Fuller's performance-enhancing drug issues. Cincinnati is a surprising 8-6 against the spread and 7-7 in over-unders, while Houston is 5-9 and 6-8 respectively. Big money to be made on the Bengals covering. Take that and the over, as neither defense is impressive. A few more quick picks for Week 16. I'm taking Miami -3 over the Raiders, the Browns -9.5 over the Jets, the Broncos +3.5 over the Chargers, and the Seahawks -1.5 over the Rams, which is an absolute joke. All the odds are from December 23rd on the DraftKings Sportsbook. As always, thank you for listening to Line 'em Up on the Kirby on Sports podcast. For more in-depth analysis on football betting and fantasy football, check out ProFootballAction.com and follow me on Twitter at TheZachMamba24. Now, back to the show.
Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com. All right, we are back. Thank you to Zach Ruff for lining them up each and every week on the Kirby on Sports podcast. Gentlemen, glad you're with us. As always, I'm glad to be here with Carlos and Dan. It's time to what to look out for Week 16 in the National Football League. I can't believe there are only 2 more weeks left. Let's start with Carlos. What are you looking out for Week 16 in the National Football League?
All right, well, first off, shout out to the NFL for actually making it to Week 16.
Yes.
Oh, my Lord.
Absolutely.
I can't believe we actually did it.
Absolutely.
All right, a couple things that I'm looking forward to. Number one, obviously, we're going to look into that, like the NFC East battle. If the I think it's a foregone conclusion the Ravens will beat the Giants, and whether Washington can beat Carolina, that'll be very interesting to watch. On top of that, Kirby, you were correct. Josh Rosen is going back to Arizona because San Francisco plays Arizona this weekend. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets it or if he gets any playing time. I doubt he will. But and last but certainly not least is we have football on Christmas. And it's always great to have football on a holiday, especially after Thanksgiving debacle.
I don't get that, though. It's a Friday. The NFL usually doesn't do that unless Christmas falls on a Sunday and they push all their games back to Saturday, except for one.
Do you have to work? Is that why you're upset?
No, I'm just saying.
I was going to say, there's no way he's working on Christmas because I'm not even working on Christmas.
No, I'm just saying.
Oh, and last thing, the big matchup of the week is definitely the Titans Packers on Sunday Night Football.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Very
That was
excited
my
for that
what
one.
to look out for. Titans are hot. Green Bay one of the best teams in the NFC. You have a head-to-head matchup. I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee gave Green Bay a run for their money.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely will, because I mean, listen, this could go as a typical Green Bay game where they like dominate in the first half and then they hold on for dear life in the second half. This could go multiple ways, but this game is in Lambeau, right? If I'm correct, yes, it's at Lambeau.
Yes.
So, will the Packers want to tackle Derrick Henry in the cold?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't see it.
I wouldn't want to tackle him because I mean,
I wouldn't want to tackle him in general. I don't think.
yeah, I was going to say in general, but imagine in the cold. I bet you that hurts.
Oh man, I can't even imagine.
All right, Dan, what are you looking out for?
All right, my first game is a nice 1:00 kickoff on Sunday. You got the Colts and the Steelers. I talked about this game a little bit before. A lot of playoff implications here. And you know, if Pittsburgh wins, they have a shot at the second seed. And the Colts go back to the sixth seed, so they're pretty much out. That's the best case scenario. Or I mean, they're not out, but they're bumped back a little bit. And then if the Colts win, they have a chance to get the third seed. So this is a big game for the playoff picture, and for the Ravens as well. Not showing any bias, maybe a little bit, but you know, I'm really interested to see this game, especially how Pittsburgh will try to bounce back after, you know, 3 straight terrible games. And playing a playoff team is going to be difficult too. And if they lose, the AFC North becomes extremely interesting, especially with the Browns right on their heels. It's going to be something to behold for sure. So that's one game I'm looking out for. And, you know, the second game for me has to be the NFC West matchup. Huge game, huge implications. You got the Rams and the Seahawks. The Rams, they need to bounce back in a big way after that embarrassing loss.
Agreed.
But Seattle has had their fair share of trip-ups this year, though, and that's why I think this is going to be one of the best games, not just because of what's at stake here, because if the Rams win their last 2 games of the year, they win the division. That's going to be difficult, especially beating a team like Seattle who has so much experience, not only in big games, but being in the postseason. So that's the second game I'm looking out for. I want to see how Jared Goff and company respond after a big loss that never should have happened to the New York Jets. And you know, we'll see how they bounce back and respond. And I want to see if Seattle is. I kind of want to see if Seattle still rules this division, because I think a lot of people still think they do, and you know, I'm one of those people who certainly thinks they're one of the best teams in the NFC. But can they come out and prove that by beating the Rams and securing the division on Sunday? We shall see.
Absolutely. So that wraps up what to look out for Week 16 in the National Football League on the 100th edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast. For Carlos and Dan, I'm Josh. That about wraps things up for part 1.
Hold on. Kirby, before we leave, let's clap it up for 100 episodes. Like, congratulations, Kirby. Like, let's go.
You made it.
Thank you. I couldn't have done it without you, Dan. Dan, you've been there for me almost every step of the way. I had to make some changes, obviously, when you were transitioning into your new job, but still, I mean, you've been with me. Been some ups and downs, but for the most part, mainly ups. And I appreciate you and Carlos for all the hard work you do for the podcast as well. If you want to tell the listeners, if you want to, you can tell them what you do for my podcast. I'm not sure how under wraps that is, but if you want to, tell them what you do for us.
Are we talking to me?
You're talking to Carlos, right?
Carlos.
Oh, me? I'm just I just make all the graphic design stuff and all that stuff on Instagram and whatnot, and also created both the logos for the show.
Yeah. So
That's
Carlos,
about it.
really great graphic designer. He has helped out the show tremendously. I can't thank you enough for all the help you have given us as well. Social media list Carlos, I would tag him to say hit him up for all your graphic design needs, but he doesn't have any social media. So
Well, I mean, if you really need to get in contact with me, all you got to do is just hit up the old SHS Graphics account, and there you go.
Oh, yeah. Apparently, so how it all started, really quickly, Carlos ran a graphics account for my alma mater, and he started making graphics like a big sports page for our high school football team. So that account's still up. And, but like beyond words, thank you to both of you. And thank you to all my listeners, to all my supporters. Every step of the way. I couldn't have done it without you. This is a huge milestone for me. 100 episodes. I never thought I'd get here, but here I am. I can't believe it, and I can't thank you all enough.
It's been quite a trip, and I've really enjoyed every step of the way. I love getting a chance to talk sports with people I respect, and Kirby, you're one of those people for sure in my life. And Carlos, you're becoming that too. You guys feel like it just feels like friends just sitting around chilling, talking about sports.
Oh yeah.
And
That's all it is. That's all we're basically doing. We're just sitting around,
Love it.
Maybe one day we'll be drinking a couple brews with each other, but
Yeah, man.
It sucks, man. I mean, we're just
once COVID is over, we're definitely all doing an in-person podcast.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
no
for
doubt.
sure.
No
For sure.
doubt. No doubt.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm just really fortunate to have an outlet to come here and just talk about sports. And I don't know about you guys. I'm sure this is true for Kirby, but it's like a place to come take your mind off like the stresses of life and just like sit back and chill and talk about something you're passionate about and something you care about.
And
like,
this is a passion
awesome.
I discovered I've had, because any conversation I hold, the longest conversation I can hold is a conversation about sports.
Yep.
That's in my
same
opinion.
here.
So it's great. I can't thank Dan and Carlos enough for coming on the 100th edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast. But that's not all. We have a part 2 coming with some special guests and some interviews for you that will be on part 2, and that will also be coming to you via YouTube as well. You can catch all our content on anchor.fm/the Kirby on Sports podcast and on our YouTube page. Part 2 should be coming out shortly, but for the time being, for Carlos and Dan, I'm Josh. Always remember to create greatness, and we will catch you in just a while. Peace out.